Hey, Michelle O'Neill here, Monday Mastery Moments with Michelle. And I'm so excited to be here because this week is our final week of August Author Series. And I was so excited to be able to interview three phenomenal ladies and their books that either they have just come out with or it's on its way out. But this week, the tables were turned. You know, I was no longer the interviewer. I was the interviewee because this week's author is none other than moi. And Lynda Sunshine West so graciously consented to be the interviewer. And I gave her full carte blanche. I told her whatever you want to ask me is okay. So I can't wait till you listen to the behind the scenes of I'll Make It Through. See you on the other side.
The tables have turned. I get a chance to interview the amazing Michelle O'Neill. Now, in this series that Michelle's doing, I was one of the authors. She interviewed me, and she asked me to interview her. So I'm very honored to be here, Michelle, to interview you about your book, I'll Make It Through, because I want to hear your story. What the heck did you make it through? Like, first tell us that.
Girl, life. I have made it through life. No, always through life. There's always things that just come up. And just recently, something really floored me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I talked to a friend of mine and I said, you know, this is what's going on. And girl, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't make it through. And she says, that's your next book. And I'm like, really? She says, no, I'm serious. You need to write that. And that's how the book came about. Just me trying to get through something that had totally floored me.
I got goosebumps from that. And you know, what's interesting is there's a lot of people out there who are saying things like, I want to write a book. I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start. Right. And so, and some will write like me. I'm like you had a title first. And for me, titles always come first, and then everything else comes after that. And a lot of people will write the book, and then they're like, oh, I need to come up with the title. So it's interesting that you were having a chat with a friend. She's like, there's your book, right? And then you were like,
right.
Okay, I guess I'll do it. So now she had the easy part. And then you had to get to work, girl.
And it wasn't easy. It really wasn't. But I had made the commitment that at least I knew what I was going to write about. And just it's all based off of the Serenity Prayer. Because as you know, anyone who goes through something, if it's addiction, any kind of addiction or grief or whatever, most of them have that 12 steps. And for a lot of people, it's the Serenity Prayer. And the Serenity Prayer, because of my faith, has always been really strong for me. And just remembering, just starting with the first 4 stanzas really helped me start that movement. So I had already decided that I was going to take each line of that prayer and make that a chapter to my book. So then it was a matter of, okay, what am I going to say about that line? And that was when the hard part came. But I made a commitment to myself that every week I would write 1 chapter.
So did it take you 12 weeks to write the book?
Maybe 14. There was a couple of times I kind of fell off the wagon. So.
Right. But you kept moving forward. And that's the thing, right? Because it's great to, there's people who are starters, there's people who are finishers, and there's people who are starters and finishers, and there's people who don't ever start. Right. So you have all these different personalities. I've been the starter and recently have become a finisher because I decided to become a finisher. And with becoming a finisher, it's cool because you get to go through the whole process. So you had the idea, you said how you're going to do it, which is every week I'm going to write a chapter. And then you stuck to your guns. 14 weeks instead of 12. And that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Because I think a lot of people would have taken a lot longer, or they just would have put it off for whatever reason, because it's hard work, right, Michelle? Writing the book, coming up with the thoughts and the ideas.
There were times that I would sit in front of my computer And I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this right now. I don't know what to say. And I just make myself sit there. And for me, it was like, okay, Lord, what am I supposed to say? But it was more than that. I wasn't driven by how many words. You know, a lot of times they say you have to have so many words and all this. And my whole purpose wasn't how many words. It wasn't the book. It was what was important for someone to walk away with. How could I help the next person make it through? And so for me, it was all about saying what I had to say. And I actually had, what do you call it, a framework. And I knew that with my framework, it was that, okay, first I wanted to make sure that they understood what I was saying, what the concept was of that line. And then I wanted to really dive deep into it, really get into the nitty gritty and the, you know, of what that meant. And then finally, I wanted to just make sure that they had action steps to walk away with. Because what good is reading a book and getting all these great ideas if I can't do anything with it? So that was my framework. And then of course I had to end with a prayer. So with that framework, it's like I said what I had to say. Sometimes I had a lot of deep dive. Sometimes I had a lot of action or whatever. But that was the framework. And once I said what I had to say, it was over.
Well, that's awesome. And what I'm thinking as I'm listening to you talk about it, and with the prayers and the 12-step program and all this. So my question is this a book for 12 steppers, or is this a book more than just like that group of people?
This is a book to give you the ability to take action when you feel that crap has happened. Life has thrown you a curve ball. You don't know, you've been knocked down, as I say, you've been knocked to the mat and you don't know if you can get back up. And this is to show you why you can make it and how to make it, because you of all people know action takers. So what good is knowledge if you can't take action on it? And so I just want to show women, and yes, I wrote to women, and I just want to show them that no matter what happens, what pandemic, what just crisis that happens in our life, that with the right knowledge and the right framework, we can make it through. It's just that simple.
Would you say that your book is one that you need to go through in order, or if somebody is going through a particular situation in their life, can they like flip to chapter 6 and will that help them, or do they need to start from the beginning?
I have had people pre-read it, and everyone had their different favorite chapter that spoke to them. So I would say absolutely pick whatever title that grabs you first. But to go along with the book, I thought it was really important to create a journal, because there are 2 reasons for my journal. Is one to help you through it, to think through what's going on with you, and to prompt you and to think about things that maybe you wouldn't have thought about. But 2, to go back to that journal later and remind yourself what you came through, what strength that you grew, what growth happened there, so that you can use that knowledge and that experience and that perseverance and that resilience the next time. And so both of them kind of work hand in hand. And so I made it that you didn't have to get both if you didn't want to, but both are there for you if you feel that you need them.
What made you so passionate about this particular topic? Because like the idea of writing it came from somebody else, right? So how did you envelop the passion? Because I can hear it in your voice. I can just hear how married to it, you are, so how did you envelop that passion from something that somebody else mentioned?
Because in a way, that's the whole passion, the whole mission, the whole purpose behind mastering your Monday. And it's the ability to create those fresh starts no matter what life throws us. It's the thought over circumstances, no matter what circumstance we find ourselves in, no matter what happens in our lives, is having that ability to get back up and just keep pushing. And so it doesn't have to be a major catastrophe, but this book is a little bit more about when those things that knock you down. But Mastering Your Monday is about even the small things that just kind of knock you for a loop, whether it's something that happens at your job or whatever. And I have to say the word hate. I hate the victim mentality. And so with that in mind, I know that if we have that right framework on how to think and how to work through it, that we can get through it, that we can make that fresh start. And so that's my passion and my whole purpose, is to show anyone who feels that they can't make it through that there is a way and there is another side.
What's interesting about that is that there are, so many situations in life that we beat ourselves up over, right? And so, like, how do you get through those kinds of situations where you're just basically mentally beating yourself up?
Self-reflection is really, introspection is very important. And that's what I like about the prompts in the journal, is the fact that there are a lot of questions that we don't ask ourselves. And a lot of times it's because we're afraid to deal with the answers, or we're not willing to change that narrative in our life. So, and that's one of the things that this journal does with the prompts, is asking those hard questions. What is your motivation for what's driving you to do these things? Are you more concerned about yourself, or are you concerned about that person you think you? And we have to ask ourselves those hard questions. And then we have to decide, are we going to act on what we've learned? Because just because you realize, hey, I'm all about me, doesn't mean you're going to change that idea about I'm all about me. So it's all that. So that's what's driving everything for me, is we have to be introspective and really be honest with ourselves.
It's interesting you mentioned the all about me aspect, because I grew up in a very abusive alcoholic household, and I lived my whole life for other people. I experienced people pleasing, right? I became a people pleaser. And when I was 51, I hired a life coach who helped me to come out of that and to discover who I am myself. And it's kind of like, because of that, I swung to the other side. And instead of being this people pleaser, I became all about me, because I feel like it was important for me at that time in my life so that I could pendulum swing back to the middle, because like I was so far on one side, I had to swing all the way to the other side so I could experience it and then come back to where I am now. So it is interesting that, all about me attitude. I think it's more about, being truthful with yourself without being boisterous. Would you say is kind of something along that line?
I really wouldn't say you were in that stage of all about me, but more so in that stage of I'm worthy, I have value, and now I'm taking responsibility and ownership for my life. And I think that's more than it was. I don't, from what I know of you, I could never see you being totally selfish, without a care for others, because that's what you do. You care for others through creating community and referrals and networks. So you being totally about yourself, no, but you were willing to start seeing that you have value and worth just as much as the next person.
Now, what's interesting about that is because of the mentality that I had of the people pleasing, when I stopped saying yes to everybody, I thought it was self-serving. In actuality, it wasn't self-serving. It was just me setting my boundaries.
My favorite word, boundaries. No, absolutely.
Now, have you always been a person who's set boundaries, or is that something you had to learn? And if you had to learn it, like, what was the process of learning that?
Part of me would say no. I am a people pleaser, or I was a closet people pleaser. But there was a part of me also that was also passive aggressive. So it's kind of that someone would tell you to do something and you say okay, and you'd be like, yeah, right, I ain't doing that. So that's how I would play my games and my out. But I also learned at an early age a lot about manipulation. And because that was something that was continually used on me, I was determined, one or two things happens, I think, when we're in dysfunctional situations. We either become like that situation, or we tell ourselves, I will never, ever be like that. And for me, those things made me say, I will never, ever. And that's the part of my personality. Just like in the work situation, when they told me, you can't do this, you're not good enough. My attitude was, instead of the slink away, and I had my moment, but instead of slinking away, what I did is I said, you know what, I'm going to show you. You just wait. And so that's what worked for me.
Well, that's so interesting. I find myself every once in a while, today is a great example, where I find myself wanting to shrink back into who I was. And then I have to remind myself that that's not who I am anymore. I am not the submissive person who takes everything. I'm not scared anymore to, I don't want to use the word have confrontation in the bad way. It's just like confrontation of allowing myself to speak up for myself, like to stand up for myself. And it was interesting. I had that exact situation today where somebody sent me an email asking me these questions. And in the old days, it would have been scary. And I would have just like deleted the email and never responded because of my fear of what would they think of me? What would they think of my answers? What if they didn't like me because of my answers, But today I was like, oh, I had the twinge to go back. But then I said, no, just answer the questions. If he doesn't like me, he doesn't like him. And that's okay. It's okay.
Well, don't get me wrong. I live in fear every day. I just about fear just about everything. But I suck up and move through that fear. It's not that I don't have the fear. And I love that you said you experienced the fear and you were willing to experience the fear. But it's not that we don't experience the fear. It's what you do once you experience the fear. Do you let it overtake you, or do you fight back? And you fought back today.
Yeah, it's like fighting back against my own demons that were showing their head back again. In 2015, I faced a fear every single day for the whole year. And even though I faced a fear every single day, what it did is it helped me to gain confidence to step through fear in future. So my future life from that point forward just made it easier to recognize fear and to step through it. I still have it. Like you said, I still have fears, but it's how we handle them and how we step through them that's going to help you to make it through, right? Like I'll make it through. And a lot
of the evidence. Yeah. It's the evidence, because like you said, you've had fear, but each time you remind yourself how you made it through that one, and even look at what exactly happened and look at, well, what did I learn in that one? And now I've gotten to the point where now when things happen that just throw me for a loop, the first question is, okay. What's the lesson I need to learn in this one?
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting it. I am not getting it.
Like, please show me what the lesson is. Like,
yeah, so we can get it over quick.
Exactly. That's so funny. Because that's a hard question to ask yourself, wouldn't you say? Like, at least at the beginning until you get used to it. Because who wants to know the answer to that?
And that's actually, that was a big question as I was going through the book. It was like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And I allowed myself to feel. I just didn't wallow in it. And it was like, okay, what's the lesson I need to take away from here? Because I'm going to tell somebody else so they don't have to deal with it too. So they don't have to go as deep as I went.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Mischelle, we're getting to the end of our interview, and I'd like to stay on time with my interviewees.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so what I want you to share with the audience, your audience and my audience, is how can they find the book and what can they expect to learn from reading your book?
Well, okay. Let's go with the last one first. What can they expect reading the book? I think one of the things is they'll really get to know themselves better and how they process the unexpected and circumstances in their lives. They start really looking at a deeper understanding of how they deal with trials and tribulations in our lives. But I think they're also start looking at the ability to find that way through, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light isn't a train, it's a way out. So that's the big thing. And they can find it easy on masteringyourmonday.com/make it through. I would encourage them to get the bundle, which is both the book and the journal.
Yeah, for maximum, oops. See, we were like right on time because my timer just went off. Like, how do you like
That's
that?
That's okay. That's perfect.
That was perfect timing. Yeah. So
thank you
so
for being
more
on time.
You're welcome. So for more information, go to masteringyourmonday.com, make it through.
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
And get both, because you'll see a huge transformation in your life. So, maybe set a time for yourself to go through the book in 12 weeks. Make it your own 12-week step, program, like a 12-step program in 12 weeks, and see what kind of transformation you make. Because there's so many studies out there that show that when we are consistent about doing something for 90 days, that we will truly see change. So go down there and get this book today and change your life. Thank you, Mischelle, so much for being here on your show.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Lynda, for taking time out of your day, because I know you're a busy lady, and interviewing me. I feel like I've been on the red carpet.
That's right. Well, it's my pleasure and honor. Thank you so much for inviting me to come out and interview you on this show. And I just love what you're doing. And let's help you sell more books and change more lives.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.